Yeah, it's Cash. Get him. DJ Deuce McGuire, this hot as a log fire. Spark the lighter in the 303. We wrestle at the quarry. Golden, Colorado. Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy. Elevated wrestling. Yeah. Hashtag follow if you know the motto. Can't stop now. Got the need for speed. Combustion and concussion. Championships in my vision. I put the key in the ignition. Such an easy decision. I got a hustler's ambition. Wrestling at its best. Welcome to the show I put on for Rocky Mountain Pro. Let's go. Yeah, it's Cash.
All right, welcome to RMP Radio, and no, this is not the voice of Austin Reddick. This is Mr. Fourth Row, and on this episode, I have Cormac Battle, the Duke of the Downbeat. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on, Artie. Appreciate you making time.
Yeah, definitely. So, so as we are on RMP Radio, we're just going to talk about whatever comes up, gonna break the fourth wall and get to know a little bit more of the wrestlers behind, the person behind the wrestlers, I should say, actually. Mm-hmm. So you recently returned to the wrestling scene from a little bit of a hiatus. You want to talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I was going pretty hard there for a lot of 2017 through 18, doing shows every week, usually a couple times a week. And the thing about wrestling, which is world ever, but it also really takes it out of you in a mental, physical way. And, I think that for me, I wanted to take a little break just to kind of reassess myself and kind of recenter my mindset, as well as just kind of take care of a couple nagging injuries. Like I've got a bad shoulder thing I've had for a minute, so I just kind of wanted to rest that for a while. But I am back, basically full time at this point, doing shows every single week, and it's a good hang, man. I'm really, really happy to be back. It's a really, really good place for me to be in right now. I can balance it pretty well with the other parts of my life that need attention, so I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Oh, good. Well, sitting on this side of the ropes, it's definitely, I was excited to see you come back, and of course, come back with Rocky Mountain Pro, which is where it kind of all started, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it originally started with Rocky Mountain Pro, trained by Matt Yaden, trained by Hoodie, trained by Sammy Six Guns, Danger Deans. Yeah, that's where it all kind of began for me.
Yeah. All right. So, you're talking about just kind of going hard there with the wrestling, and you and I talked a little bit offline. So, was it was just because kind of getting you down, getting you a little, battling a little depression too at the same time?
For sure. So that runs in my family. Depression, just kind of emotional instability, runs in my family pretty strongly. And so I think it was part of that. A lot of it was kind of deciding what I wanted to do with wrestling, because there was a while there where I was just kind of showing up to shows and just like going through the motions. And that's never a good mindset to have when you're trying to, go into such a physical contact endeavor such as that. So, I always told myself when I was training that if I ever felt like a chore, or like if I ever felt like I needed to do a show as opposed to wanted to do a show, then I should probably take some time away from it and kind of get centered and decide what I really wanted to do. So it was partly that, a lot of just like little life stuff in between that I kind of wanted to give it its proper attention and everything. So yeah, it's something that, especially on the depression side of it, like that's something that's very much in my family. It's something I've grown up with my whole life, and just finding the right way to deal with it. I don't think that it's something that ever necessarily just goes away. I think it's really all about how you deal with it and how you decide to, I don't want to say treat it, because I don't really use antibiotics as I used to when I was a kid. Not antibiotics, but like medication. Like when I was a kid, I used to a little bit, not so much anymore, but just really kind of find the best way to work with it and to overcome it, I guess.
Right. I understand. So, what was your way that you got over it? Was it just the time factor, just taking the time out for your mental health? And let's tell all the listeners out there that mental health is as important as physical health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That I agree with 110%. I think that, if you break an arm, the recovery time is, 2, 3 months, whatever it is. But with mental health things, I mean, the recovery time is as long as it's going to be. And especially in, I think, pro wrestling, like, I really think that mental health and pro wrestling go together hand in hand. A lot of people get into pro wrestling because they feel marginalized and because they feel that it can be an outlet for them. So I really do think that's a critical part of it. For me, I just decided that I really wanted to. I love pro wrestling. Like it's my absolute favorite thing that I've ever been a part of. Rocky Mountain Pro is really and truly a second family to me. For me, it was just I need to give it the respect and the attention that it deserves, and I couldn't do that if I was being pulled in so many other directions, focusing on these other parts of my life. And so what I did is I just decided, okay, I'm going to take a few months away, let my shoulder heal up, let my body and mind heal up a little bit. I really spent a lot of time with my family, my parents. Always been a huge support system for me. My parents are my absolute, biggest supporters in the world. Love them to death. So it was really a lot of time spent with them, catching up with some old friends, getting into new, like making new friends as well as meeting up with old friends. Just kind of really focusing on the relationships that I had, use them to build me back up and kind of replenish myself, and then jump back into wrestling, kind of reinvigorate and revitalize.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha. So, if I can take the floor a little bit,
Please.
I want to tell people that there's always options out there. If you are struggling, you can always call the National Crisis Line, which you can Google. A lot of states do have what's called warm lines, so they have a peer counselor that has gone through something similar to you. So you can, I know in Colorado, if you call the National Crisis Line, and I believe if you dial star when you call in, they give you that option. And so if you just need somebody to talk to, and they're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's very important. And I'm gonna try not to cry, and I know some of my friends out there know this, but last year I went through a little bit of a depression bout myself, because I had a very, very good friend, very, very close friend, that moved away last year due to family issues here in Colorado, and it was important for them to get away from that toxic situation. And when they moved away, I came into the realization that I was actually in love with this person. And it just was kind of deep down, and this is the first time that I've truly felt like I've been in love with somebody, and my heart's going to always still be with them. And I utilize all those tools that I talk about. I also did, I'm going to, I'm no holds barred. I did go on Zoloft for a little while, for about 6 to 9 months last year. And, it does help. I would say, and it does, for all of you out there, if you are struggling, I know we tell you it's going to take time, and it's hard to see that when you're in this situation, and it's hard not to see that light at the end of the tunnel, and but it is there, and I am feeling a lot better, because it does take time. Like I said, utilize your tools, utilize your friends, utilize your family. There's a lot about there, and you never know who you can talk to about these things. I'm going to give a special shout out to a couple of the women wrestlers I got to talk to, with Rocky Mountain Pro about this situation. So, special shout out to Shade, Aria, and to Allie.
Hell yeah.
That I got to talk to about this, and they all understood the situation that I was going through, because especially Allie, because she had met this person quite a few times over, because I took her a lot to wrestling events, and she saw some of the things they too, and of course Anaya did too. He even made some jokes that we weren't really necessarily dating, but we're just really good friends, and so that was kind of the hard part of the situation. So, and as you can tell, it's still a difficult situation to kind of talk about, and like you had said, Cormac, that you don't necessarily get over it, but you are able to at least manage it.
Mm-hmm. And not to belabor the point, but obviously if you're struggling with it, like obviously that there's all kinds of options. For people that are not struggling with it, reach out to people, just kind of check in, you know? Like you never know people that are going through shit. I don't know, can I swear on this thing? Oops.
Yeah.
You never know who's going through stuff. So it's really important that you're always checking with people and just making sure that they feel, even if they like, you know, hey, I actually don't need to talk about it. It's okay. Just to know that they have a support system in their friends, in their family. Like that's a huge part of it too.
Yeah. You know, and it's about relationships. In fact, last night, this recording, Monster Zero came up to me after the show. He said, "Hey, how you doing?" Because I think he knows I was struggling too, and he's always checking on me. He's one of the, you know, this lumberjack of a guy. You wouldn't think that he he cares about people, but he does. And so it's always cool when I get to talk to him after his show, and he's always checking on people and stuff too. So there's people around. You may not know that they're seeing things, but they are. If you put stuff out there, people will care. You make relationships, and it'll help you out. It'll benefit you twofold.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is gonna be kind of a hard transition, but so another thing I'd like to talk to you about, like I said, we're just talking about whatever. One thing I discussed about with you is you are kind of in the process. I don't know if I've seen you do anything, lately. But one of your big projects or kind of interests is to go and rewatch old Disney movies. So tell the listeners about that. What was the reasoning? What was the reasoning, and how's it going?
Yeah. So I really love animation. I've always loved animation since I was a kid. I watched a lot of cartoons growing up, and then it just kind of always stuck with me. So I really love the concept of animation. I love the theory of animation, and I love movies too. I love cinematography. I love going back and watching old movies and combining the two things to have a different the theory of setting up a movie is completely different with animation, and I think that's fascinating. So I started going back and watching all the Disney movies, Disney animated movies from start to finish, meaning starting with Snow White, ending in, what would that be now? I guess Frozen 2 is about to come out, so maybe Frozen 2. So that's where I am. I didn't realize that Disney is going to start their own streaming service pretty soon, so I feel like a goofball for spending $15 a movie for the last year, but that's okay. So yeah, man, I started with Snow White, ran all the way up. I am currently on Tarzan. I've seen it before, but I haven't reviewed it just yet for this project. I've kind of slowed down with that just because wrestling is kind of, again, taking such a huge part of my life. And also, I've just been so busy recently, I just don't have time to watch it. But I'm hoping, I think I'll bust it out maybe at some point this week and just kind of get it taken care of. But it's awesome, man. I just really love going back and seeing all these different stylistic choices and seeing all these different theorems that were developed because of these old movies, all the technology that was created during the time. And honestly, as cool as it is to watch the movies themselves and just appreciate them for what they are, I also do a lot of research for each of the movies I watch and just learn about their development and learn about their history. And it's just fascinating, some of this stuff. For instance, The Fox and the Hound is a solid movie for what it is. It's pretty cookie cutter stuff, but the background information on it about how there was this huge split down the middle between all of Disney's animators and production team that led to 14 animators walking off set midway through production. That kind of stuff is fascinating to me. I love the historical context of all these old movies and how each of them kind of led into the next one and what it meant for the future of the company as they were made. I love shit like that. Obviously, I'm geeking out about it as I talk about it. So, yeah, huge fan of watching all those old movies and learning so much about them.
Well, yeah, of course, you've got a Mickey Mouse tattoo. I mean, come on.
I sure do.
So, what's the most kind of really one or two fascinating things that you've found out by doing some of this research?
Ooh-wee.
That you're wow, or or if there's even more than two, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many options. Okay, so The Fox and the Hound, for what it is, like I said, that's a pretty cookie cutter movie, but I didn't love hearing about the discourse, but it's just fascinating to read all this discourse, that was the movie that caused Don Bluth to just walk off set and start his own company, which obviously led to a whole other slew of movies, which I might have to go through and review at some point. What else? Well, learning about how they really modernized and pioneered widescreen, starting with Lady and the Tramp, first animated movie to be shot in widescreen, and you can really see the difference there. How Walt patented or had an exclusive rights to the tricolor picture, using blue, red, and green as opposed to just red and green, led him to use a lot more colors and different palettes that other animators and other productions couldn't use at all. So just all this cool technical stuff, all these different technologies that they created. There's what's that gimmick called? It's a thing that they created for some of their older stuff, and it's like you put like 5 different planes, stack them up on top of each other of like scenery, and you drove a camera down from the top through the bottom of them to get a close-up shot, which had very, very old school, and by our standards very prehistoric ways of looking at 3D. Just all kinds of cool stuff like that. Obviously, it's outdated to like now.
Right.
It's a goofball idea now, but just the way they come up with it back then, and they were like, "Yep, let's just stand on a 15-foot high ladder to make this shot work." Like that's just fascinating to me.
Right. Well, they had to do what they had to do at the time, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love it. It's so cool to me. Like the ingenuity of these guys back then, who had less technology than my phone has on a bad day. Like it's fascinating to me. I love this stuff.
Right. Yeah. So I was just confirming what I know about Disney Plus, is the streaming service that we're talking about, launching November 12th in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's $7 a month, I believe, so around there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're not quite, I don't think they're quite sure about what exactly is going to be launched at the time. But because Disney, of course, has a lot of deals, still in progress with Netflix, and then
Right.
like a lot of pay services and stuff like that. I think a lot of Disney movies are like on the Stars movie platform and that kind of stuff. So so I think when a lot of those get unwinded or run down, then we'll see Disney Plus probably really explode with content. But
Yeah, someone said that they're going to put the entirety of their vault up on there, and I was like, oh my God, like that would be awesome, because I really want to get into some of these old kind of hidden movies that you don't find so much anymore.
right, and the ones you just like you say, you can't find. It's hard to purchase even on DVD probably.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite Disney movies?
Oh my goodness.
For
Okay,
whatever reason.
so let's see. Okay, so I think that Pinocchio is a classic, and honestly is better than you think it is. I think that Alice in Wonderland is great. My personal favorite Disney movie is Hercules. It's the one I grew up with. I think a lot of the comedy and animation holds up today. My favorite modern one is Moana. I think that's an absolute masterpiece. Not just because The Rock's in it, but he's amazing too. But that movie is just it's gorgeous. It's funny. It's musically incredible. Yeah, that's an absolute masterpiece. And then some older ones that I think still hold up, like I said, Alice in Wonderland and Pinocchio. Dumbo is still really, really solid for what it is. They threw it together on absolutely no budget, and they just kind of made it to make it. Like, there's no like really big creative process in it. They just kind of threw it together, and it's still a pretty solid movie. Yeah, there really aren't that many bad Disney movies. There are some that I think are not very good, which a lot of people disagree with, but there really are not any that are truly bad, and that's part of why it's so fascinating to do all this. Like they've pretty consistently kept a standard of quality through what is it now, almost 80 something years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to me, one of my most memorable movies is going to be Robin Hood, and mainly that was because at the time we just gotten cable, and the Disney Channel was on there, and I think that movie was like on all the time on the Disney Channel.
Oh, sure.
At the time, back in 86, 87, or whenever it was, then we got cable.
Yeah.
It had to have been 87, I thinking, but as we get older, we're trying to remember yearly dates. It's a
Oh
little
yeah, I know, right?
difficult. Yeah. So, but
It's wild that Robin Hood had so many like, it's all like country stars.
yeah,
Like you got Phil Harris, obviously, who was like a staple for Disney back then, but like Brian Bedford's in there, and then there's a very Roger Miller is like a he was a huge star back then. He's in that movie.
yeah. Well, and you can, I mean, now that if people haven't didn't know that, go rewatch it, and you can see there's that country star influence on the movie,
Absolutely,
especially the soundtrack.
it's a cool movie. I really like that one.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. So, well, now speaking of 1987, that's also when I got into get into baseball. So I know you're a big baseball fan too,
Hmm.
and so what's your favorite team?
So I have my National League and my American League. I got the Rockies in the National League and the White Sox in the American League. Growing up in Chicago, we used to go to a lot of White Sox and Cubs games, and I always liked the White Sox better, just because they, I think, had more colorful characters on their team. And I got to actually go see the White Sox win the World Series in 2005. My pops and I went down to Chicago to catch Game Two, which I think was the first and I think the only game to have a grand slam take the lead in the seventh inning or later. And then there was also a walk-off home run, one of the craziest experiences of my entire life. So, yeah, diehard Rockies fan, diehard White Sox fan. Those are my two teams.
Yeah. Now, did you not become a Rockies fan until like the team was, started? Or
Yeah. So the Rockies started when I was born, '93.
okay,
And then when I was living in Chicago, I didn't really know that much about them. And then when I came out here to Colorado in the year 2000, is when I started to watch more of them, obviously because they were the local team. And I really liked the idea of a bunch of dudes because when I was a kid, I didn't really know so much about the strategy. I just really wanted to see the big plays and home runs.
hmm,
And that's what they did back then. The Blake Street Bombers were just going up there and mashing.
yeah,
Their pitching wasn't great, but they would definitely hit home runs. So I was always a fan of Todd Helton, Dante Bichette, Galarraga, all those cats. And so
no pun
as
intended.
I kind of grew older and I started to understand a little bit more of the concept of like, hey, like you have to actually pitch decent to be a good team too. Um, yeah, it just always kind of stuck with me, and I've really kind of the Rockies and I have almost like grown up together,
Yeah.
which is part of the reason I like them so much. So yeah, I've liked the Rockies since about 2000 2001 when I first moved here.
Okay. All right. Good. Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah. I am a Cubs fan, and that was mainly because of cable.
Hmm.
Coming back from getting out of school, coming home, turning on the TV, and of course the Cubs game was on WGN at the time, and it was always, like the seventh, eighth inning, and it was, they were on there, and that '87 was of course Andre Dawson's MVP year, and
Yeah,
he was my favorite player, and of course speaking of the the big plays, the home runs, of course that was his year,
absolutely.
monster home runs, monster RBI total at the time, and I got to so when he got inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, I made it a point to go because
That's so
so I,
awesome.
I went to that, and that was awesome. No pun intended. Awesome to see Dawson uh,
Yeah.
get inducted, and one of the quote I'll always remember from going was that love the game of baseball. He said, "Love the game, and the game will love you back." And I
Hell
think
yeah.
that's a great thing to think about in any aspect of life.
That is so true. Man, I love hearing stories like that, yo. God, I can't believe you went to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it was great. My dad was supposed to go with me, but unfortunately he had something else come up, so went by myself. So Western New York, there in Cooperstown, it was fun. It was great. A lot of great things I can say about that weekend. It was fun, of course, seeing the hall itself, the
Hmm.
parade of major of Hall of Famers that were still around, being able to go, and attend. It was great seeing them in the, like I said, the parade, at the ceremony, everything that weekend. And I believe it's I think it's Lake Oswego that's up in that area. So it's cool seeing that lake too as well. And I actually stayed in Albany, so I just kind of commuted back and forth, which isn't too bad. It's kind of like that area is kind of like what I would parallel with and if people are familiar with the Colorado area, kind of like say like the conifer or evergreen areas. You just
for sure,
just kind of wooded. Got a two-lane highway on each side, and it was kind of a fun little commute, every day into Cooperstown. So
that's so cool. Oh, I would love to go.
Yeah, it was definitely great. But and I of course grew up with the Colorado Rockies, so they're my second favorite team. So I support them, as much as I can. Especially, this upcoming week at this time of recording, they're going to be playing the Cubs here in Coors Field.
Yeah, they are.
So it's going to be fun, exciting. They just played in Chicago, so they're turning around, one series apart, and I got tickets to 2 of the games, so excited.
Probably going to see Carlos Gonzalez return to Coors Field.
Yeah. When Cargo got signed to a minor league deal to the Cubs, little more than a week ago, because he was with the Indians, and they, released him, and I saw him, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting pickup. And he's definitely fan favorite of the Rockies. He really shined here.
Absolutely.
And he's going to get a warm welcome coming back to Coors Field.
Oh, man, that's going to be so cool. That's going to be an awesome moment. He's one of those dudes, like, baseball player, he's great. Like, whatever, on the field, he's awesome. But he's just, supposedly, he's one of those guys that's just, like, a really, really good human being to be around. A guy I used to work with said he took his kids to an autograph signing that went way over time. And all the other guys are kind of packing up like, hey, sorry, I have to get going. And he just sat there at the booth waiting for every single kid to get their baseball signed and take a picture with this big old smile the whole time. Like, that's so awesome. I love athletes like that, man. They really get it.
Yeah. And, independent wrestlers are kind of the same way. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we really know that it's a lot about, it's a lot about the kids' experience. Yeah. Obviously, I hope that people of all ages can have fun watching wrestling shows, and that's, a huge part of it for us, especially if we go to, like, our bar shows. That's for a more mature crowd. But I really, really take the time to spend some time with the kids when they come up for pictures or autographs or whatever, hang out with them, let them play the horn for a second. It's just, that's really the lasting moments for them. It'll become like a funny anecdote for parents or whatever, but, like, for the kid, that might make all the difference in the world. Like, meeting that pro wrestler and getting a chance to be interacting and be a part of the show for a second and get, up close and personal, that can be the decision that makes some kid want to grow up to be a pro wrestler someday. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's got their moment where they decided they wanted to be a wrestler. Like, maybe that's that kid's. So I really take that stuff pretty seriously.
Yeah, and I could imagine some kids are out there after getting an experience like that going, Mom, Dad, when are we going again? When are we going again?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's about, man. That's the best feeling in the world for us.
Yeah, it is. All right, so then, continuing with the baseball a little bit, so you just went off a little rat hole there for a second. Of course, I remember the Bronx Bombers too, and so when did you move out to Colorado? Did you say 2001?
Yeah. You say? 2000. The year 2000 when my little brother was born.
Yeah. So you didn't get to experience when they played for the 2 years at Mile High Stadium. Which was
I didn't. I just looked at those old tapes.
Yeah, and the first home run, seeing Mile High Stadium configured for baseball, where they, move the stands and all that kind of stuff like that it's kind of a unique experience. So, and I remember back in high school, my science teacher talking about them moving the stands back and forth to transition from baseball to football. That I believe he said they did it on water, so they pumped water under it, and that's what helped them move it. And if there was, he would say, if there was a way that they could, pump air or hydrogen or something like that, like one person could move it. And I thought that was kind of fascinating. And I'm like,
yeah,
and I was a kid, so I'm like, is that true or not? And I've never taken the time to research that, if that was possible. But I believe that's what they said, that they they moved that, but of course, when the Rockies came about, there's no way that they could, share the stadium for that time. They decided, of course, to get a dedicated stadium and get Coors Field, which opened in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, speaking of that, Coors Field is now becoming one of the older ballparks in the National League, not in baseball. What do you think about that? Of all these teams,
Isn't that wild? Yeah, I think
not holding onto their stadiums that long.
it's really interesting because I get why they do that. It's, you want to obviously upgrade all your stuff and get to the newest, attractions, everything in there. But I think that Coors Field, if I'm not mistaken, is now the third oldest National League ballpark,
Yeah,
which is like
that's right.
insanity. I mean, obviously, you're never going to beat Coors Field, or excuse me, Wrigley. Wrigley is obviously going to be it, but it really is bizarre that the Rockies, who are one of the newest teams in the league, and they have like the third oldest National League ballpark. Like, I don't know. I think it's cool that teams are always trying to upgrade and get newer stuff in there and really increase the fan experience. But I really think that, and I'm not even trying to be a homer here, like I've been to a bunch of different baseball stadiums, and I really think Coors Field is one of the best ones just because they've got the rooftop, but it's not invasive on the game at all. Like, I really think that Coors Field does a good job of leaving the game alone and just having a good experience at the ballpark without a lot of glitz and glamour and all kinds of stuff that could kind of distract or take away from the game. Like, the Marlins had that garish fish jumping out in center field that they got rid of, and the Astros have that weird like lip in center field that they got rid of Tal's Hill, which if there's Astros fans on here, sorry, but that was stupid and dangerous. So yeah, I just really think Coors Field, it's good how it is. The rooftop stuff up there is totally fine. It's a party area, that's cool. But in general, it's just a great place to go see a baseball game. It's a fun experience. It's gorgeous ballpark. There's literally not a bad seat in the house.
Yeah. Well, okay. Then speaking of seats, what's kind of your favorite place? I have a favorite to sit. Where's yours?
What do you like?
I like the pavilion.
Yeah.
So down in left field, in front of the big scoreboard.
I dig that. I really like the pavilion too, actually. I've actually always been a fan of sitting right above the out-of-town scoreboard and right. I just think it gives a really different perspective on the game. Obviously, if you can get tickets behind home plate, like, go for it. But I really like sitting out there in the outfield. You can see how the defense aligns for different hitters. Obviously, we know how the infield sets up differently, but I really think it's fascinating to get a look at how the outfielders go and shift around for the different hitters. And obviously, the opportunity to get a home run ball is never bad.
Yeah. So then I got a story about right field then for you.
Do it.
Back in '95, I believe it was, the Rockies had an exhibition game against the New York Yankees, which was my dad's favorite team at the time. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So this was in bless you. So
Thank you.
So this was in late March, right before the season started, and the Yankees came in for a 2-game set. I don't like calling the 2-game matchups a series because I think more
I
call it
agree.
a set.
I'm totally with you on that.
And so one of the Yankees hitters, I forget which one it was, but he hit just a huge fly ball out to right field, and at the time the right fielder for the Rockies was Larry Walker.
Oh yeah.
And
sure.
And so Larry Walker caught the ball, and we were in right field, and we were just right at the right angle. We could still see him without getting our vision, cut off by the wall there. And we saw him cut the ball, and there was a runner on third for the Yankees, and Larry threw a rope, no bounce, to home plate, and it was such a great throw. The runner was just kind of waiting to see what happened with the throw, but it was such a great throw. He did not advance, and I was just amazed.
That's so awesome.
Larry Walker, is one of the best baseball players, if not the best Canadian-born baseball player ever, ever to play the game. So
he's up for Hall of Fame nominations now, and honestly, he needs to go in.
Yeah, and it's hopefully the Coors Field bias, kind of goes away. It needs to go away. That's the way I look at
Man,
it.
I tell you what, I hope so, but I really think it's going to hurt Todd Helton's chances of getting in too.
Yeah.
As
But
ridiculous as it is.
yeah, well, and I hope with when it comes to Helton, I hope that they see that this is a guy that played for a single team his entire career, and I hope that helps him. That he's such an institution. I mean, he's got the Burger Shack there at Coors Field.
Yeah. Which are not bad, by the way.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I always try to go over there. Got the Helton dog and everything
Todd
else.
Helton was like the National League's most dangerous hitter from like 1997 to like 2002. Like he was the guy. And, maybe a little bit, if here's the thing. I don't want to get hot about this, but like.
No, go ahead.
If Coors Field is going to be held to this, like, oh, Coors Field, like, whatever, Citizens Bank Park needs to be held to the same standard. Where the Phillies play is always a launching ground for home run balls. Yeah. The Great American Ballpark, where Cincinnati plays, that's an absolute, astrological site for baseballs. And if that's true for hitting, then, like, San Francisco, Petco Park in San Diego, like they've got to be held to the same standards for pitchers. It's going to be a lot easier to pitch in that marine air where the ball's going to drop for you and you got this big spacious outfield than it is in Coors Field where the ball is lighter. So, I think when you get into like, oh, the ballpark makes a difference, like you really open up a can of worms as to what does and does not constitute like an unfair advantage for a hitter or a pitcher. And I think Coors Field just gets a bad rap. I mean, guys like Kyle Freeland, not in the year 2019, obviously, but in 2018, really tamed Coors Field and had an unbelievable success there. So I don't know. I just think that that's a little bit of an outdated mentality for some of these old sports writers that hopefully will go away because, you don't get to like a 330 whatever batting average only hitting well at home. You got to be pretty consistent on the road as well. So I don't know. It's just I don't like that. It's just an old school mentality that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. So, I mean, you have to play 81 games, like you said, 81 games on the road and 81 games at home. And at the end of the season, what's your stats? And of course, they can do the home and away splits if they wanted to, but the numbers don't lie.
Numbers do not lie. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So, all right, so we got some baseball talk. What do you think about the Rockies doing so far? They're kind of like they kind of had a little bit of a hot start, but then kind of roller coastering a little bit.
Yeah, the Rockies 2019 season is bizarre because they started off like losing, I think, like 13 of their first like 15 games or something. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And since then, they've really come on and have like the second or even tied for first best record in the National League. The problem is when you dig yourself such a deep hole to start, it gets really, really hard to climb out of it. So I really hope they can figure it out. Their pitching this year has not been exemplary. Herman Marquez has been their best starter, which is great, but Kyle Freeland obviously took a lot of steps backward. He's now in AAA trying to get figured out. Tyler Anderson, who was okay last year, he's got a foot problem, which is going to put him, or a knee problem, which is going to put him out, I think, for the rest of the year. So he's not around. They're really relying on a lot of their younger guys, which is cool. The Rockies have a really strong farm system, and it's great to see guys like Ryan McMahon and Raimel Tapia and Brendan Rodgers get a shot. But it's also a lot to put on these guys who are basically kids. I mean, shoot, I'm older than some of them now, which is a terrifying thought. And it's a lot to put on these younger guys to kind of take command of the team and try and get them towards a third straight postseason. So I definitely think that the Dodgers have the NL West wrapped up, but I don't think it's out of the question if the Rockies can have some balls fall their way and get some. If they can just get some consistency out of their guys, they could definitely be fighting for a wild card spot.
Yeah. So do you follow the minor league teams?
A bit, not as much as I probably could, but I do keep an eye on Hartford Yard Goats. I do keep an eye on the Albuquerque Isotopes. I actually went to an Isotopes game a couple years ago. I still have my Isotopes hat. But when they were the Dodgers affiliate, I just happened to be in town for a music thing, and I went to an Isotopes game. And then when they changed and became the affiliate of the Rockies, I was like, oh, great, I don't have to burn this hat. So So yeah, I do keep an eye on the isotopes and the yard goats, especially when it's like a prospect whose name I recognize, or if there's like a major league rehab assignment. You know, if like I paid attention to Daniel Murphy and Charlie Blackmon going down there when they were hurt. Blackmon just recently come back from AAA, so yeah, I like to catch up on those guys whenever I can.
Yeah. It made me really sad, though, when the Rockies changed their AAA affiliation from the Sky Sox to
I
the
know.
Isotopes, because it was always
That's
kind
a
of
shame.
nice to be able to, for us in Denver, to go, hey, let's go catch a AAA game and go down to Colorado Springs, and it's only,
Hmm.
70 miles away, and you get to see, maybe same players, like you said, rehab assignments, players that may come up to Denver, so.
Yeah,
So
well, now they've got a new Colorado Springs team starting up called the Vibes, isn't that right?
yeah, the Vibes, which is an interesting name. It's definitely Colorado influenced.
Yeah, I like the little s'more mascot though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I believe they're still. I believe Sox the Fox is still going to be around though.
Wild.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. And now they are. I believe it's the Rookie A short season league. I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So yeah, so they are still affiliated with, I believe, the Brewers, and then the Rockies rookie short season team is in Grand Junction, so they'll play each other. So that'll be interesting
That
to
will be interesting.
see how
Little
that
in-state rivalry.
see how that works. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I've been thinking about going to an Albuquerque Isotopes game too. Just matter it's a little bit farther away than Colorado Springs,
Yes,
but
yes, it is.
still can get there. You still can get there in a day if you leave really early. uh,
It's fun. It's a cool ballpark. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be.
yeah, and I think that was the reason why the Rockies decided to. Speaking of aging ballparks and stuff like that, I think that was the reason why they changed affiliation, is because the facilities at Security Service Field, I believe it is. Just we're aging and just not quite right what the Rockies wanted for their AAA team.
Hmm.
So, and I can totally understand that. And I know there's been calls about replacing that field, but.
Right.
Have you gone down a Sky Sox game?
You know what's embarrassing? I never
You
have.
never have? Okay.
I know I need to.
Yeah, I've gone to quite a few, and I like to go to when they have theme nights. So, like when they have um, Skyfest or something like that, which is like a science fiction related, Avengers, Star
Oh
Trek,
yeah.
kind of stuff like that. So I've been to there. They've got it's a really cool. It's definitely a minor league ballpark. The amenities are not major league standard. There's not the fancy foods, but there's the basics.
Right.
Really intimate setting. I know they always sometimes have celebrities there. I went down one time when Walter Koenig was of Star Trek fame, played Chekhov.
Oh,
In
that's so cool. He
the
was
original
there.
story. He was there doing
Oh,
a
that's
signing,
awesome.
and I think he even did the batter announcements for a half inning
Oh, that's so
for the Cy
cool.
Sox. That was kind of fun, to see him. So I got an autograph with him, even though I already had an autograph with him before at a convention.
Hell
So
yeah.
yeah, but it's definitely an intimate experience, and you can get tickets for really inexpensive, and it's definitely worth a fun time there.
That's
I
what's
would
so cool
say.
about minor league games is they're really about like just the experience and like getting guys out there. Like they always have all kinds of wild
Yeah, crazy
little
stuff.
theme nights, like you're saying. Like I think that's really cool. Plus, some of these minor league team names are absolutely wild, like Mud Hens and
Yeah.
stuff like that. There's one, it's like Dirt Dogs or something. Like that's so cool to me.
Yeah, and there's I think there's one. I think it's Amarillo sod poodles or
That's what it is. The
yeah.
Sob Poodles. Yeah. What a great name.
Yeah, it's crazy, and some of the designs for the minor league teams, it's like, yeah, why, for like the hats and shirt and jerseys and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
why is not MLB doing some of this stuff?
Seriously.
Yeah, because some of my favorites, of course, the Vibes are got a good looking logo, and
Uh-huh.
the Florida Fire Frogs down in in Orlando, Kissimmee, I believe. They have a really cool hat. They got a fire breathing frog. I mean, what the heck,
I love it.
So
It's so I love it. It's so fun.
yeah, and sometimes I just want to buy the hat just because it's got a cool logo.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, all right. Oh well, Cormac, I think that's basically all I had to really, the topics we were going to talk about. But you have anything else you want to talk about, or maybe even just plug?
Let's plug. So, obviously, Rocky Mountain Pro every Thursday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Check us out on Right Now TV or on Twitch. We've got a huge month of shows coming up in June, which will be ending with our biggest event, which is Milestone 9. That will be at the Summit Music Hall on June 30th. You can go to the website, RockyMountainProWrestling.com. Check out all the dates, and all the information is available to you there. But that's the big one. We really want to get that place packed, man. I'm hoping to have a good crowd for that. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but whatever. Al Snow's going to be there. We're going to have a huge, huge, huge show. Obviously, championships on the line. It'll be a good time. And then if you want to follow me, you can always hit me up, Cormac Battle Pro. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those good deals. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, awesome. All right, well, thank you for your time, and everybody follow up with Rocky Mountain Pro and Cormac Battle.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate you.
All right, you're welcome. Once again, a big thank you to Cormac Battle for coming on to the podcast this time around and letting all the listeners get to know a little bit more about him and have those conversations that we just don't get anywhere else. Well, before we end this episode, let's pay some bills like they used to say back in the day, and that is if you'd like to purchase a shirt or a pop socket or other kinds of things from one or two or even three or more of your favorite Rocky Mountain Pro superstars, it's as simple as going over to the website, rmpwrestling.com, click on the merch link, and you'll find everything there. And there you got all kinds of great choices. You can get an Ari Aurora shirt. I've been told that Cormac Battle shirts are probably on their way, if they are not, as the time of this recording is released. And then we also have some upcoming events. This is a very important weekend for Rocky Mountain Pro, and that is because it is Milestone Weekend. And the weekend starts off with Supercharged on Thursday, coming from the Quarry at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Golden, Colorado. Then on Friday, we are at the Rack House going to get Rack House rowdy for the Rocky Mountain Pro experience. And then on Saturday, we are at Romero's in Lafayette. And then we're going to cap off the weekend on Sunday with Milestone 9, the Big Daddy anniversary show. And if you want to get tickets, it's as simple as going to rmpwrestling.com, clicking on the events link, and you'll find your tickets and information right there. But I've got a deal for you guys. You want to save some money on your Milestone tickets? Hit up your favorite Rocky Mountain Pro superstar, announcer, commentator, heck, even hit up your favorite referee, and they've got tickets they can sell you, and they'll save you some money. Basically, you're saving the service fees, so you can do that. If you want to watch us, you can watch us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Rocky Mountain Pro. You can find us on Impact Plus at impactplus.tv. We have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rocky Mountain Pro. And of course, you can also find us on Fight TV as well as Right Now TV. And follow us on social media. Everything stems from the website at rmpwrestling.com. And you can also find us at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of the handles there are The Rocky MTN Pro. So The Rocky Mike Tango November Pro. So thank you all for listening to this episode of RMP Radio, where pro wrestling is elevated. Bye.